alleged offenders just to protect reputations.
The evidence is as it is, and save for certain extreme situations, it will not be sanitised or censored.
An early witness, a self-confessed child molester codenamed D1, has named 10 Sydney people, including a lawyer and a professor. Their identities will be revealed later. The Commission will also reopen inquiries into the notorious Mr Bubbles case, in which 8 years ago charges were dismissed against kindergarten operator John Derren, after he'd been accused of interfering with more than a dozen children under 5. Hugh Rimmington reporting for Nightline.
Breaking tradition, Prime Minister John Howard has decided to make Kirribilli House on the foreshores of Sydney Harbour his principal residence rather than the lodge in Canberra. Meanwhile, the Labor Party is starting the business of rebuilding from the wreckage of the election. Laurie Wilson has our report.
As they gathered in Canberra for tomorrow's meeting, caucus members were confident Labor could form an effective opposition, with Kim Beazley to be elected unopposed as leader.
We've got a considerable blend of experience and youthfulness amongst our members, and I think a keen hunger.
Two candidates, Simon Crean and Gareth Evans, will contest the deputy's job. Paul Keating is expected to attend the caucus meeting, possibly his last before he resigns from Parliament. Some prominent Labor figures are pushing for defeated Labor MP Mary Eason to be given the former Prime Minister's safe Labor seat, but she's facing stiff opposition. As for Mr Keating, he still enjoys hero status in the party, despite Labor's massive defeat.
You've been a magnificent Prime Minister. History will treat Paul Keating very well.
He now enters into the category of ALP legend, and we love our legends.
As Paul Keating contemplates his future beyond Canberra, John Howard has confirmed plans to spend more time in Sydney. As Prime Minister, he'll take up residence at Kirribilli. Mr Howard says he wants to avoid disrupting his family, particularly his children's studies.
Having an arrangement that is fully supportive of our family life is very important to me.
A spokesman said the Howards would have preferred to stay on at their home in Wollstonecraft, but that would have cost millions of dollars in additional security. The Prime Minister will move into Kirribilli, the official residence on the shores of Sydney Harbour, within the next month. Laurie Wilson reporting for Nightline.
The latest opinion poll in Victoria shows the Conservatives set for a landslide win similar to the last election. And a much-vaunted television expose tonight on the casino tendering process seems unlikely to take the gloss off Premier Kennett and his government.
For months, the ABC's Four Corners has been investigating the tendering process for Victoria's casino. But even before the program went to air tonight, Premier Jeff Kennett was unconcerned.
You'll be watching it. Doubt it. New information?
Don't watch new information.
And it seems he was right. The only new information came from an unidentified source.
Because of secrecy rules which make the disclosure of information about the casino process a criminal offence, our source can't be revealed.
That source, though, claims cabinet ministers were given regular updates of the bidding process. That was contrary to the strict guidelines set out by the Casino Control Authority.
I think that any accusations which would undermine the public confidence in the Gaming Control Authority would need to be investigated judicially.
But the Premier has already rejected that, and it seems the casino row has done little to harm the Coalition's popularity with less than 2 weeks before the election. The state government is up 3 points, Labor down 3. Both sides are near the same levels as the last state election. John Vors for Nightline.
Tasmania has a new Premier, with Tony Rundle elected Liberal leader today. As part of a policy overhaul, he plans to reform the state's controversial gay laws and allow opposition parties to review legislation before it enters Parliament. Mr Rundle replaces Ray Groom, who resigned after his government lost its majority at last month's election. Sue Napier was elected unopposed as Deputy Premier. Is it peace at last for rugby league or another stalling tactic? That's the concern of some ARL clubs to a surprise peace offer today from rebel players who had earlier vowed never to return to the fold. The rebels now say they're prepared to be part of this year's competition, but only if the ARL makes some drastic concessions.
The compromise proposal certainly caught the ARL by surprise. When the players scheduled a news conference this morning, indications were they would announce their own competition. Instead, it was the first sign of a white flag in the year-long dispute.
We believe what we've got here in front of us, we've made a lot of sacrifices. We think it's very fair.
Among the demands include Foxtel being allowed to broadcast certain games, Super League players not being available for ARL representative matches, but still able to hold their own series. Clubs should still be able to wear their new Super League